there, PA Federationists. Welcome to another episode of White Canes Connect, presented by the National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania. My name is David Goldstein. I am your first vice president, and today we're going to take another look back at some of the things that went on during the 2025 National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania State Convention in Harrisburg. Today we're going to hear from National Federation of the Blind President Mark Riccobono. President Riccobono delivers a powerful reminder that blind people, united through the National Federation of the Blind, must continue leading change, telling our own stories, and shaping our future without limits. Now, let's hear from President Mark Riccobono and his delivery to the National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania State Convention on November 15th, 2025.
Greetings, my Federation family, and thank you for the opportunity to address the convention of the National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania on this special occasion, the eve of the 85th anniversary of the National Federation of the Blind. I want to thank our president, Lynn Heitz, for inviting me to give some remarks. I regret not being with you in person, but I'm really honored that you have Anil Lewis there to represent me. He is a true embodiment of the best of leadership and membership in the National Federation of the Blind. And he really, besides the extensive history he has in the organization, he's an important part of building our base, our bridge to the future. He invests a lot of time, energy, and imagination into being part of building the next generation of leadership, leaders in the Federation. And besides that, he is a trusted friend, colleague, someone that I really admire and has been a critical part of my own journey in the organized blind movement. So let me say thank you to Anil for being a great friend, but also a tremendous leader in our movement. Now, I've been asked to talk about a couple of things today, and I'm going to do that quickly, recognizing that you have a lot of talent in the room that we'll want to hear from. But let me start with my journey within the National Federation of the Blind. I did not understand that I was a blind person and what it meant to be blind. I had no idea what role my blindness would play in my future. But fortunately for me, I discovered the National Federation of the Blind in 1996. And this was just a few short years after our 50th anniversary as a movement. And this gives me the opportunity to mention the book, Walking Alone and Marching Together, which was still very new in the Federation literature at that time. And I want to put in a plug for our Walking Alone and Marching Together podcast, which we just launched this week. It's your opportunity, our opportunity to immerse ourselves in the history of the organized blind movement, the first 50 years in weekly podcast form. And we should use this as a reflection point for understanding where we've been and discussing where we want to go. The NFB, our movement, provided a significant community for me to really come to understand what it meant to be blind. And I want to emphasize the community understanding as being really important. My own transformation has been filled with many ups and downs, but always fueled by the community building work that happens in the National Federation of the Blind. And engaging me in that community building has been essential to my own understanding of what it means to be blind, the philosophy being put into practice in my own life, and building relationships that truly have lasted now for almost 30 years. At the beginning for me, I was a blind college student. And so I needed to know what other blind college students knew. How were they going through school as a blind person? What techniques were they using? I didn't know these things. And so by organizing blind students, and quite honestly, often for the selfish reason of wanting to know the secrets that they had, I received a network of folks that could help me out. But I also found a community where we could take on bigger projects together. And I had no idea in 1996 the transformational societal shifts that we would be able to make because of that. I went to our Washington seminar in 1997 for the first time, as an example. And one of our advocacy issues was working on creating the Braille presumption in the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. It didn't exist at the time, and this is something that many probably take for granted today. But it was because of the National Federation of the Blind that we got that in to the 1997 amendments. And think about almost 30 years later, the repercussions of that, advancing Braille literacy, how it has impacted what we do with our Braille enrichment for literacy and learning, our IEP Academy work. All of that is underpinned by work that we did to get the laws to point more toward the future we want. And over the past 29 and a half years that I have spent as part of this community working on the organized blind movement, every time I have thought I knew what the limits were for blind people, this organization challenged me to push further. And in fact, I've definitely learned that we don't know where the limits are for blind people. The limits are completely based on our imagination and our lack of belief in blind people. So if we believe in blind people, we are unbound from those limitations. Now, when you examine any aspect of real progress for the blind over the last 85 years, they all have one common connection. Some examples, not an exhausted list, some examples might include addressing the Braille literacy crisis in this country, eliminating discriminatory wage payments to blind people working in sheltered employment and other settings, fighting to get blind people access to civil service jobs and really maybe 100 other aspects of employment which were once thought to be not possible for blind people and which we were barred from for one reason or another. Bringing the perspective of blind people into being a central component of the development of technologies developed for blind people. No one really develops technologies today without including blind people. Sometimes they come to it too late, but in the past, it wasn't even a central idea until we worked on it. And today, bringing blind people into the creation of technology actually makes technology better for everyone. Building the idea that blind people should have informed choice in programs like rehabilitation, advancing blind leadership and agencies for the blind, and so many other areas over the last 85 years. The common thread through all of these is that the change, the advancement, the progress has been made by blind led advocacy in our community through our vehicle of collective action, the National Federation of the Blind. How do we know? Well, it's written in history now. And progress comes from our persistent collective action. That is the only way we will continue to make progress. The present moment we're in remains full of barriers for blind people. Yes, we've made great progress, but the unemployment rate and the persistent exclusion of blind people persists. Technologies continue to be rolled out in places of public accommodation which are not accessible. Social attitudes about blind people are still horrible. We have a lot of work to do. And we have a lot of dreams for the future. And that's why your coming to be at this convention is important, because you have come. You've shown up to help make that work happen. We have new challenges on the horizon as well, some that maybe some of us thought we would not experience. The programs that we have helped to build to benefit blind people are now being characterized as political programs. When they have enjoyed support because they were nonpartisan, some of the programs to support our independence are being characterized as political programs. We can't continue to let that messaging go out. It's not true, it's not accurate, and it's not helpful to the future we have. Organizing a deep and diverse movement and building our authentic voice through individual efforts collectively focused has been our key to success and will continue to be our key to success in the future. I want to close by noting that our advocacy work comes from our lived experience, and our ongoing progress benefits from blind people coming together, debating, pushing, pulling, encouraging each other. What should the future be like for me and you? What do we dream the future should be like for blind people? We want to focus our current activities on that same core principle of blind people speaking and acting for themselves. Why is this important? Society is changing around us. Artificial intelligence has become a central topic over the last 3 years. If blind people aren't leading in that conversation, we will get left behind. Emerging technologies are being included in education that are not accessible. If we're not leading in that conversation, we will be left behind. And dramatic shifts in public policy are being considered. And if we're not leading in that policy discussion, we will get left behind. It is critical that we lean into the membership of this organization. And our success has come from blind people mentoring other blind people, and through our development of leaders in our community who believe in the collective wisdom of blind people. This is why I want to come back to studying our 85-year history. Our history as a movement shapes where we are today, and we have to understand that history to help motivate, inspire, and educate us on how we're going to get to the future we want to have as blind people. An important part of that history is told in the stories of blind women and men who struggled against great adversity to create the situation that we have today, where it's much easier for blind people to sit on the sidelines and think I'm doing okay. But if we rest there, we will lose the progress we've made. We need to ignite a storytelling initiative that tells the story of where we've been, but also elevates the dreams of where we want to go. We need more blind people to put their voice into the mix. We need to bring more understanding of where we've been as blind people and our stories into the National Archives of the Blind at our national office. We need more stories of blind perspectives in our publications like the Braille Monitor. And if you don't feel comfortable writing your story, Don't worry, record it. Speak into a microphone. Take a video of yourself. Send it to the editor of the Braille monitor or plan to have a conversation with him. We want to put it into words, your words, so we can inspire and elevate that story to motivate the change we want to see in society. The greatest challenge that we still face as blind people is the public misunderstanding about blindness. I don't know if I am inspired by it or disappointed that that's still the case. It was the case in 1996 when I became a member. Yet, when I think about the almost 30 years that I've been a part of this community, I do see a real advancement of the position of blind people in society. And I also recognize that there's a very strong force that often works against the public narrative that we had. And that's the vision industrial complex, which continues to perpetuate the idea that blind people need to be cared for. But now is our moment. Looking forward, we can use the resources we built, the tools we put together, and the tremendous members we have to bring the stories of no limits to the public in new ways. That's why one of the biggest dreams that we have for the near future is a storytelling initiative that will bring new digital tools to give access to our National Archives of the Blind, that will present the stories of the understanding of blindness that we share in new ways, that will help to create dynamic online and physical exhibits that we can use to enhance the work of our affiliate and local chapters, and that someday will generate a physical museum of the blind people's movement at our headquarters in Baltimore, where we already have literally hundreds of public artifacts displayed throughout our building that give real, tangible experience to what blind people have done. In fact, our national headquarters is a true testament to what blind people have done with their own hands, with their own dollars. We are the envy of disability rights organizations, and we've done it without any debt. We've raised money ourselves. We've gone out and inspired people to support us through our stories. And in the future, our building will disseminate not only our stories and our archives to the public to make those changes in society we want, we'll find new ways to build exhibits physically and digitally to change the perceptions in dynamic ways. How do I know we'll do that? Because we're committed to doing it together. And I trust the wisdom of the blind community, the National Federation of the Blind. Thank you to our affiliate for your support of our Museum of the Blind People's Movement campaign. And thank you to the work that you're doing every day to stress our shared responsibility to continue to speak and act for ourselves and to sustain the movement that has made all the difference for blind people in this country and, frankly, all around the world, the National Federation of the Blind. I want to reaffirm as I close my ongoing and deep commitment to our collective identity, our shared values of love, hope, and determination, and the connection that we share with those members and leaders in the past who sacrificed to build a foundation for our success. To all of you who are digging in and making those sacrifices in the present day, and for the hope that I have for the next generation, that they will take our movement even further. They can only do that if we continue to invest in that future today. I encourage each and every one of you to use this 85th anniversary opportunity, this convention, to recommit yourself to continued engagement in the organized blind movement and doing your part to unify our community of blind people and unbind us from the historical limitations so that we can imagine a future full of opportunities. And more importantly, we can build that future together. Let's go build the National Federation of the Blind. Happy anniversary.
Thanks to President Riccobono for allowing us to share his remarks to our state convention and share it with you on this episode of White Canes Connect. We really appreciate that and everything that he does to help build the National Federation of the Blind. We would love to hear from you. Please reach out via email, whitecanesconnect@gmail.com. That's whitecanesconnect@gmail.com. Or, better yet, give us a call, leave us a voicemail, and we'll use it on an upcoming episode. 267-338-4495. Remember, you've got up to 3 minutes to leave your name and town and whatever your question, comment, show idea, anything that you've got. We would love to hear from you. Again, 267-338-4495. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of White Canes Connect. Take care.